MAIZE+ pig farmer, and I've already moved the canola and the wheat into the pig feed silo. I realized that thing holds about 170,000 litres, so we should have just been dumping the crops straight into there, and the next job is to cut some sugar beet. So I'm just reminding myself which front loader console I have on the tractor, and then we'll get ourselves a front loader, lease the bucket. I'm not going to buy the bucket because we shouldn't be cutting sugar beet again. Then we will go get the pigs. Then we need to mill the wheat. Don't ask me why I decided to do it in that order. I just did. Mill the wheat, mill the corn. Milling some of the excess wheat would help with one of the problems that we have, in that we don't have a huge amount of feed for this year, but we are going to go with we will feed the pigs with what we have this year. I have an alternative feeding plan for next year, which I think is going to give us access to a lot more, and we're going to do things slightly differently. So I think this is going to be something that evolves, and I'm hoping that probably within about 3 or 4 videos we'll have done the first year. Yep, so that's kind of the plan. We'll see how that goes, and I'm going to see if I can squeeze in a second video this week. So we'll see how that goes. Basically, I want to try and make this quite a short, quick series. So that's the idea with doing it, these mini series. I'm just trying to find the Ruby bucket. I thought it was part of MAIZE+. It's not. It's base game, and then it's been adapted. I think it was adapted by MAIZE+ to cut the sugar beet. So there's the jobby. It's very expensive, so we will just be leasing it for a very short amount of time. And what I'm going to do at the end of this video, because we will end up at the end of this video with the pigs in the pen, ready to push through to getting our first set of piglets, and probably in the next video, I think the next video we'll push through getting piglets sold, getting the rest of the crops in the ground for the next cycle, and we'll see how far we get in. Maybe 3 videos is a year, I'm not sure. Yeah, so at the end of this video we'll go through the how things look, having got to the point where we're all set up. It's not a pretty picture, to be kind of honest. Not a pretty picture. So just as a reminder, we started with £1.5 million in the bank. Yeah, we've got wheat left. We've got a lot of sugar beets, and that's the change that we're going to make for next year. So I was kind of pondering how we can do the feeding next time, and what we're going to do is, rather than feeding CCM or corn grain grist, because I'm not fermenting it, we're going to do beet pellets next year. So and we're going to plant our biggest field 9 with sugar beets, and we're going to put in the pellet production that I made. It's not that expensive. It is a reasonably large building, but I'm hoping we can fit it in. So just quickly, so I've cut 16,000 litres of beets. It's more than we need, but just in case, and we're going to return that. We're also going to return the roller. So yeah, I haven't found another production that does the sugar beet pellets, so we're going to use that. We're going to grow a lot of sugar beets. We've already got canola planted, so we're going to grow that, and I will either sell it to buy brewer's grain, or we will feed it and then buy brewer's grain. We're going to grow corn again, but we're just going to use it as corn in the 3rd feed group instead of wheat. That's because it yields more than wheat. And then we're going to grow carrots, so we don't have to chop them as that feed group. So I'll probably plant, I need to check the yields, but my thinking is I'll plant carrots in the 2 fields we had sugar beets in. I'll I'll replant corn in the field we had corn in, because we know that gives us enough to do that feed group pretty well. And we've got some wheat left which we could feed in that feed group. And yeah, this big field next to us will give us a heck of a lot of sugar beets to turn into pellets. And that's the beet pellets is a ratio of about 50%. So, and that's going to let us scale up quite a lot. Yeah, we'll put these in, and then we're going to lease an animal trailer, I think. Yep, we do the straw afterwards. We're going to lease this guy, the Knins, which I think is one of the cheapest ones. I'm only leasing it because we're not going to need it then for several months. So I think it's more effective to lease than buy. Not sure. With how I'm doing the finances, maybe we should have bought it. But yeah, so next thing, currently running enhanced analysis. I'm saying currently because it may be one of the mods we drop in the future as we explore profitability. Because I have played on a little bit, ready for the next video. And it's one of the things that's throwing some challenges, shall we say. But I was thinking, so we can support 30 pigs with the feed that we've got. And I was thinking I was going to get 29 sows and a boar to save on vet fees. But it's only £10, dollars or euros to have the vet come in and inseminate the sows. So £300 dollars or euros, and then we get some piglets out of the other end, versus the boar, which would cost us money and we would have to feed it. So you can see there, a boar is going to be a few £100. And we could buy one and sell it and do it that way. And if we had a lot of animals, that may be more cost effective, but we're going to do it that way. And I'm going to get some black pies. I don't think it makes any real difference. So I thought they were interesting looking. Berkshires were also interesting looking, but we're going to go black pied. And we're going to get 6-month-olds because once they're healthy, they will start breeding straight away. Yeah, so that's the plan. We're going to get 30 of these girls, and with enhanced animal system, that should give us on average 300 piglets per litter. Now, enhanced animal system does reduce the value of those piglets compared to base game by an amount, which we will talk about next time. It was not the amount that I expected. But we will talk about that next time. So, yeah. But yeah, that was I was torn between getting a boar and doing the vet thing. So I went and double checked the vet fees, and the vet fees are going to be cheaper. It's going to cost us about £600 a year-ish in vet fees versus having and then feeding a boar. And then not getting piglets out of a boar, obviously. So, and it's not like in real life where you could stud out that boar or borrow a boar, which I guess that's the equivalent of paying vet fees. So, yeah. That's what we're doing. And it works. You know. The other thing that we need to decide on, I need to decide on, not we, unless you have a significant input or a significant, viewpoint either way, is whether we use the mini BGA or the home reproduction for the manure and slurry. Really what I should do is very quickly between videos 2 and 3, have a look at the most profitable of those two and pick that one, I think. Because that's going to be a big deciding factor in how profitable this farm becomes. So, yeah, it's going to be a big factor. So there we go. There's our last 6 pigs going into the shed. The other job that we need to get done, so we need to give them some straw. And then we need to lime a bunch of our fields while we've got the lime spreader, because we've got it on lease. And originally, so I kept the roller because originally we were going to plant wheat. And So I've returned that because we're not going to be doing planting until spring, and there was no point keeping it at least over the winter. We will release one in the spring. But I want to get the fields limed, and then we'll return that, and we'll worry about fertilizing in spring. We're going to need to do some weeding, so we'll lease a sprayer and we'll spray for possibly. We'll see. Yeah, I'm going to get a bunch of... I know we're going to do the milling now. So we're using the Merska mill to mill the corn. For no other reason really than in this situation it has a lower horsepower requirement. There's no other benefit for milling CCM that I'm aware of. You're also going to get some Luprasil. Nice change as part of one of the updates to MAIZE+. Luprasil is not as expensive as it used to be. It used to be very expensive to buy. It's not anymore. But it gives you, Luprasil gives you a 7% increase in the milling process. So definitely worth doing. But yeah, the horsepower requirement for this is much lower than the one that's included in MAIZE+. For milling other grains, it lets you do general grilled mains, and you get grain grist out as the product. So, for example, we could mill our spare wheat, and we would get grain grist that we could use to feed the pigs. So, that's a nice benefit of using this one. So I quite like that. And it lets you do, if you want to simulate feeding milled oats or whatever, you can do that. The product you get out is grain grist, but it lets you do that kind of thing. And I had a bit of a problem between the keyboard and the chair with this one, because I was hoping that I could fill this up and keep it just milling straight into the silo, and I couldn't get myself in the right place initially to do that. So I thought for some reason that the silo didn't accept the CCM raw or corn grain grist. It does, I just wasn't in the right place. So I ended up putting the first few loads in the trailer and then get myself sorted out. The problem was between the keyboard and the chair, or the laptop and the chair. Anyway, yeah, so we're getting to the point where we've got, or we'll have, so I'm thinking that if we get the homebrew, it'll fit just behind where I am now. I don't think the pellet production will fit there, so we might have to lose a bit of field space for that. And the same with the mini BGA, that won't fit in any of the spaces we've got free. We will have to lose a little bit of land for that, maybe. I kind of want to try and run at least 2 years, because the second year is going to be different in at least one way, maybe two. And I might do a third year. Because I think as we progress, the farm's going to get more profitable. I've got a few ideas for how I want to do things differently, but I want to kind of do some baseline different stages as we work our way through. And here you can see I've got myself in the right position. The graphics are a little bit deceptive as to where some of the triggers will let you do things. But yeah, I was just able to sit here and mill the rest of the corn, and then get it put into the silo. Not the silo, the feed for the pigs. Yeah. There's some changes that I think we're going to make as to how we make this into a profitable pig farm in the future. And we'll talk about those as things go on. Yeah, I kind of like doing these mini series. They seem quite popular. The last one got quite a lot of views, and they're quite nice because I can progress quite quickly. I can some of the stuff off camera I do. Actually, no, not really on this. I say sometimes when I'm doing these, I will cheat a little bit, but I didn't for this one. I'll occasionally use a bit of real speed. There's quite often courseplay involved, because I can kind of leave things to work in the background because I'm not worried about capturing every little bit of farming. It's about the end result, really. While I play a bit of farm sim in the background, kind of. That makes sense? It does. it's like a really long kind of deep dive tutorial-y type thing. And in the past when I've done these, they've been a single video, but it's quite hard sometimes to do something this in-depth in a single video. And particularly from a time point of view, it's quite a lot of time. So this feels better to do as a mini-series. So let's get this tipped in. I'll move the rest afterwards. But they've now got all of their food. We need to give them straw. So straw. I'm not going to be growing a straw crop. My plan, and I might have to manufacture it, is to do some contracts for other farmers which result in us getting straw. So we will use the straw from missions mod to do a few contracts which get us straw. That seems to me like a reasonable way to make up for the fact that we are not growing a straw crop. And we do have some spare cash. We could buy another field and plant a straw crop. And maybe that's something that I'll think about in spring. We've missed the window for planting some of them. But at the moment my plan is, or maybe we'll grab a field later in the year, but currently my plan is that we will do some contracts with the straw from missions mod to get straw. I think that's it's a way that it works. It's certainly in the UK, some animal farmers will help out arable farmers by baling the straw for them to clear the field. I don't know how that's managed in, other bits of the agreement, but, I'll combine the field for them. They can, and I'll take the straw. That's my, I'll bring my combine. I won't charge them to lease the combine. That kind of thing. I'm not interested in taking money out of the contract, for example, because that will mess the finances up. I just want the straw. So, as I say, I might manufacture. I'm not sure where the straw trigger is, so I do as every new farmer does on their new farm. I went into Giants Editor. Yeah. So, yeah, as I said, I might manufacture those contracts. In that, when there are some fields with the relevant crop available to harvest, I might just make it so that we can combine them, get the straw, and not take any of the grain or any payment, just take the straw off them, and the owner gets the grain. Or if we do them at the potato store, kind of handy. Or if we do those contracts, I will give the money back, because our payment will be the straw. It's one of my pet peeves when people do, I'm just going to see if I can make money doing a certain type of farming, and then halfway through they've got 15 greenhouses and they're doing contracts and all this other stuff, and then, oh yeah, I made loads of money doing this type of farming. And they did 15 other things. We're just going to do this one thing. So that means we're not going to be selling any excess crops or anything like that. The thing we are going to be selling is the output of the animals or the animals. So any of the crops we have that are excess, so like if we end up with excess wheat, I might mill the wheat to feed. The same with the sugar beets. We will put the sugar beets through the pellet press eventually. But I won't be selling it because that's not part of the pig farm in my head. So there we go. They have straw, they have food. I will move the rest of the straw off camera. But yeah, we're pretty much in a good position. We are all set. So from where we are now, with the limiting factor we had was the canola. Milling the corn gave us a bit more. We've got more wheat, we've got more sugar beets, but we didn't have enough canola to get more pigs. So that's kind of is what it is. Planting wise, we now don't have any planting to do until spring. But you can see we've got sugar beet left, we've got sugar beet cut left, we've got a little bit of wheat left which we could mill into grain grist to go in the other feed category. The first one, where we put the milled corn as well. And I just wanted to very quickly, I've already limed 3 of the fields, and I just wanted to very quickly get this last field limed. So this is field 9 that we are liming now. This is the field that I'm going to plant with sugar beets. And yeah, so you can see that some of the other fields have been limed in the background as well. And I was going to show you all of this, but I'm actually not going to. I'm going to skip ahead to talking about how we end. Before we do that, I realized that I thought we had somewhere for manure to spawn. We do not. So we need to put in a manure plate. Not a lot of time has progressed, so we haven't really missed out on a load of manure. And this spot seems like it would work. I'm going to spend a bit of time faffing over which one that I want to put in. I've installed the old manure heaps. That's a bit big. There are a few options. There's also one in MAIZE+, so bear with me while I faff and change my mind about which one I want to use. Yeah, there's this one that's part of MAIZE+. It's quite nice as well. It's an extension. I quite like using the extensions because they tell you whether you're connected or not. So if I think this is the one where I just move away to the point, yeah, there we go. So it tells me I'm too far. So where we're trying to put it actually works. So, but we are going to go for one from the old manure heap because manure is going to be really important. It's going to be really important. But I want something kind of cheap, really. So I think this guy will work just fine for us just here. Yeah, so it's still October. We've only progressed a few hours while I did that lime spreading. And we're going to go through the accounts as of after the end of October. So I skipped to November and then I've gone through where things are. Because that's the point where I started skipping time to get to having piglets and getting into the next video. Basically, I decided to save that for the next video. So here we are. We started with £1.5 million. We've spent just over £250,000 on vehicles, buying vehicles, and we've spent about £9,000 on leasing stuff. And I am going to be doing a mixture of that through the series. We spent about £1 million on land, and you'll see down at the bottom that I've included that as an asset. So I am including things as assets as well, so we can look at actually what our profit or loss is if we were just to sell everything up and move on. The pigs cost us about £9,500. So relative to everything else, it's a really insignificant part of the farm at the moment. There's some reoccurring maintenance costs on the buildings. They're about £600 a month at the moment. We've had the seed and the misc costs are seed and lime and fertilizer. I think mostly lime. The building was putting in the manure pit, and water costs are the start of the costs of giving the pigs water. And these numbers, once we get piglets, get really big really quick. So yeah. And then obviously we haven't sold any vehicles or livestock yet, so we haven't had any income. So there's going to be another sold line obviously on there for like sold animal byproducts. So we've spent £1.3 million of our £1.5 million. And we've got about 170. You can see the numbers don't quite match because we've skipped ahead a little bit. But give me a break, okay? It's a video game. We've got about £178,000 in the bank. We've got about £1 million worth of land. We've got about 100. The value of the vehicles when I checked this, time sync is slightly out. It's about £180,000, and we've got pigs that were worth at that point about £2,000 because they lose their value as soon as you buy them. So our total assets are £1,388,000. So that's the sum of the cash in the bank, the land, the animals, and the equipment. So currently we're about £110,000 down. That's a lot of pigs and poop to sell to get back to being in profit. And that's going to be kind of the theme going forwards of these videos is through breeding piglets and selling them, and through selling the waste products from the pigs, can we change that number? Does it keep going down? Does it go up? And yes, there are things you can do. For this first year, we are not going to do that. We are going to just play normally. Apart from putting the outputs into something like either the BGA or the homebrew, we're not going to not feed them something. We're not going to not give certain animals water. We're not going to use free water. Those might come in future years, but for now, we're just going to play the game as your average farm sim player would play who's using these mods. And that's it for today's video. So hope you found this interesting. The next one, we will get our piglets. We will progress through to spring. We'll get the crops in the ground and we'll be selling piglets, and we might get to harvest. I'm not sure. We'll see how much time there is. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, click the like button. Look forward to your comments, questions, or suggestions. Thank you to the patrons and the YouTube channel members, and I will see you next time.